From Kyle, Texas, it's my dad, Marty, Seldom Used Reserve Coleman. And from West Orange, New Jersey, it's Casey the Beef Cregan. I'm Parker Coleman, and it's time for the show you've been waiting for all week, Sluggo.
Casey the Beef Cregan, I saw you jamming to that intro music. I have one question for you.
What's that?
Were you jamming over at Harry's Ocean Bar and Grill when you took the Mrs. Cregan over to Harry's Ocean Bar and Grill?
No, and I think he stumped me there. Officially stumped me. I don't even know where that is.
You don't know where Harry's Ocean Bar and Grill is?
No.
Oh, amazingly, it's in your hometown of West Orange, New Jersey. I'm not sure of the address, but I know it's over on. No, actually, it's over on Cape May.
Oh, okay. That's a little south of me. It's in like the last town in New Jersey. It's the Key West of New Jersey, if you will.
I didn't know that you were in the Key West or near Key West of New Jersey. So what else is happening, Casey, over in West Orange, New Jersey?
Same old, just living the dream, enjoying it, having a good week and excited. Had a great Saturday watching college football, as we talked about on our live show during the Clemson game. That was awesome. It's Big Ten is back. I know we're going to get into that, and that adds a little bit of a layer to our cake, if you will. So it's been a great week, and it's only Wednesday. Let's go.
From Kyle, Texas.
Very nice. We're having some video difficulties. Apparently, you and I are not on the screen. I'm not sure what's happening right now, but we'll have our audio on there anyway. So let's rock and roll tonight. Hey, guess what, Casey?
What's that?
The Big Ten fooled us. They are back, and they've decided to play football this year. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's about time. I think, back when they decided to cancel the season, they kind of botched it. They jumped the gun, figuring I think everyone was going to follow them, and no one really did other than the Pac-12. And here we are, fast forward to September 16th, 2020. They had a unanimous vote to all come back and play. There's some stringent rules in play, but they're going to the key piece that I got out of it is that they're going to play 8 games in 8 weeks. Now, we've seen some cancellations and postponements already. It's going to be hard for some of these games to be going. I mean, heck, you never know if another outbreak comes or whatever may happen. 8 games in 8 weeks is a lot, and there's something to be said about that bye week in between some of these games for some of these teams. Whoever makes it into the quote playoff, if there is one this year, is going to be very tired, I believe. So it's great to have them back. I'm glad they're back. We don't have to listen to Big Ten folks getting all hoity-toity about they're not playing, but they would have won, blah, blah, blah. Well, now we get to see it.
Yeah, 8 games, it's going to be kind of weird. We joked about this in the pre-season when one team has 12 games and one has 4. I even joked about Clemson having 2 and Alabama having 8 or vice versa, or 10 or 12 or whatever. It's just going to be kind of weird. And how do you judge 8 games versus 10 or 12 or 11 or whatever? Or what if, as you said, what if the Big Ten only ends up with 6 games and, Clemson has 11 and Alabama has 10? It just seems really kind of awkward.
Yeah, we didn't think about it that way when we were joking. We didn't think that they were all going to have different amounts of games because one conference season was starting in October, and one conference we figured they were all going to be starting at the same time and missing games. But yeah, this adds a whole new wrinkle, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And for the Heisman too, right? Because Ohio State obviously has a Heisman candidate at quarterback in Justin Fields. And how do you compare his numbers in 8 games versus, 11 or 12 for Trevor, if you count the ACC championship game, and how many ever for the Alabama guys? It's just going to be a strange and weird season. Hey, Casey, our guest is here right now, and before I bring him in, I wanted to give you a little background on our guest. About 5 years ago, I reached out to this guy kind of blindly. I was following him on Twitter and liked his stuff. It was really, really good. And I reached out to him, and boy, when I reached out to him, that Serve Facebook page now has 17,000 and something followers and likes. When I reached out to Chris, it had about 200. Chris and Matt Wilczewski. So, and they really, really helped the old guy take care of the Facebook page. And now here we are a few years later with 17,000. So Chris is a former D1 athlete. He's incredibly knowledgeable and insightful about commenting on football, but all sports really. He's a D1 baseball player at USC Upstate, but I consider him a friend. Chris, I'm glad you decided to come on with this. I'm sorry the video's not working because, out of the 3 of us, you're the youngest and best looking one of us. So we appreciate your time.
Hey, man, I just appreciate you guys having me. It's probably a good thing video's not. I don't know if I have a face for TV or video anyway. So it's a good thing.
Well, out of the 3 of us,
take up a little bit.
Hopefully, yeah, that's okay. Hopefully, the video will pick up sometime soon. I did see some problems earlier on the system, but it said the video feed was working well. So, we'll have to have you back on when the video's up and running. But appreciate your time. First of all, I wanted to talk to you, and I don't know what Casey's going to ask you, but I have a list of questions to talk to you about, and just kind of your overall takeaway from Clemson and Wake Forest. And I realize it's the first game. It's Wake Forest, so, we're not going to split the atom here, but I appreciate your knowledge, your football knowledge, and you see so much more of what's going on in the field than I do. So give me your first thoughts on the Clemson-Wake Forest game.
I think it went obviously how we thought it would, decided in the first half, and then, get the backups in the second half. I think, the biggest takeaway is just how poised Trevor looked. I think pretty much everyone's talked about it across the board is he just looked in total control, spreading the ball around the field. I don't know how many different guys passes on Saturday night. He distributed the rock really well. And, I didn't see any issues with, other than the sack he took, didn't see any issues with the ball coming out of his hand. I know a while back he had trouble connecting on the deep ball, which they didn't really look for that as much, but I don't think you'll see that as much this year with the emergence of those tight ends and then guys like Amari and Cornell who give you more of that slot type. So I'm not sure how much we'll stop early at least because I think they're going to emphasize those slot receivers and tight ends a little bit more. I guess my other takeaway is the freshman defensive linemen as advertised, Miles Murphy, Brian Bresee, those guys just they look like juniors and seniors out there. And that's just a testament for where this program is when you can bring guys that you can plug in right away the line. And goodness, looks like Cleveland Farrell's out there with a 9 jersey on, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, no doubt. And one area that obviously sticks out like a sore thumb or sticks out like a sore thumb is the defensive backfield. Now we know there are a couple starters, quote, short. So that had a lot to do with it. But that was an area of concern for me, just whether they were starters missing or not. They just Andrew Booth for one, but more than that, it seemed out of sorts a little bit back there in the defensive backfield. What's your long-term take on the defensive backfield?
Yeah, so I think if you remember last year, Marty, I think we did either a preseason podcast or something early in the season. I think it was preseason because we talked about our breakout player of the year, and I went with Andrew Booth last year. Obviously that didn't work out, but man, he was a guy that I watched film on coming out of high school, and I really thought he was kind of a plug and play guy. Obviously didn't get much to your injuries through this offseason, and then didn't look quite like he wanted to on Saturday night, but I went back and watched the replay. And, I kind of just wanted to see, what was going on there, because, I think the kid is just unbelievably talented. And when I went back and watched I think there was 3 different plays that looked like he got beat on. The first one, he did get beat. They dropped a ball in between him and Nolan Turner. Not sure if it's zone or man there, but Nolan sitting on the backside, and really no gain for that. And then the one that really jumps out to a lot of folks is the one that the Wake Forest receiver dropped, where it looked like he could have made a call. But if you go back and look, looks like Clemson's running safeties, maybe a cover 2 look or something like that. And Joseph Charleston was the safety on Booth's side of the field. And if you go back and watch Booth's body language, he's obviously visibly upset, but I'm not sure if it's at himself or the fact he didn't have any help over the top, because it kind of looks like he released and let his man kind of trail behind him. And then the ball comes out and he trails him. Luckily, he drops it, but Charleston, his first move when the snap was made was towards the quarterback. And so again, I'm not Brent Venables, I'm not Coach Reed or anything like that, but it did look like that was a safety issue rather than Booth. And then the other one was a 50-50 ball, and Andrew gets his hand in there on the bridge, and the guy just goes up and reminiscent of Mike Williams in the championship game a couple years ago, just made a play.
Now, Chris, I'm sorry. I'm glad you brought that up, because there's many people that are on the social medias and even myself who are looking at the film and the camera feed on during the game, and all I'm seeing is the back of Andrew Booth's jersey, going, what the heck? Oh, we are in trouble if Darian Kendrick goes down, or it was a Goodrich on the other. Is it Goodrich on the other side? Anyway, yeah. But I'm glad you said that, because, obviously we're just watching the TV. We're just saying, oh, look, Booth got beat yet again. But maybe it is a little bit deeper. Maybe it is first game of the year, misreads, not hearing the right. Here we go. Nelson Wilhite bringing in. Davos did say that some of the missed coverages were covered too, where the safety was too slow to cover. So that kind of gives me a little bit of hope, because we talked to Jason Priester of allclemson.com, and he said he believes down the line that the DBs will become a strength of the team, and I truly believe it as well. So I'm glad you said that. Long-windedly is what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Well, I guess that'll bring me to my next point. So I wasn't really concerned as much with the. I mean, you got your 2 starting corners. I don't know if Goodrich was starting or if Booth or Jones. I think those guys are pretty interchangeable. But obviously, Darian Kendrick was a starter. So you've got 2 of your top guys out, and you're left with some guys kind of thrown into the fire. And Wake Forest is running up tempo. And I mean, I think you guys saw it just as well as I did. It looked like, it's no new thing here, just trouble getting some of the play calls in, guys still kind of moving around pre-snap, stuff like that. So you got your first start, national TV, even is at Wake Forest with no fans in the stands. I'm sure there's a lot going on. I mean, you got new safeties back there as well. So, who knows what the communication and the understanding of the playbook and the camaraderie or chemistry is like in the secondary right now, because you just had so many new faces. So, I think, like you said, I think as these guys go on, man, so many capable bodies back there, they'll find a rotation and find a couple guys that they'll be able to stick as Clemson gets into a little bit tougher part of their schedule. They still got some time to figure that out.
Now, you mentioned the offensive line, and I wanted to touch base on that, just because that's an area that I'm not necessarily worried about the first string, but that's an area where injuries, it's not a matter, this is my famous saying, it's not a matter of if injuries are going to happen, it's a matter of when. And when you look at this second team, I think 4 or all 5 of them maybe are freshmen of some variety. What's your take on, first of all, the offensive line's performance on Saturday and the depth going forward into season?
Yeah, I mean, tough to get a read on those guys. One game in, I think the offense executed and did what they needed to do. Wake Forest does have a couple good D-line prospects. There's a Basham kid outside. I thought they contained him pretty well and looked pretty good. But, I think a lot of that goes to Trevor just knows his reads, and Travis knows the holes he's looking for. And so, we'll kind of see as these guys get tested, maybe as they move into the heart of that conference schedule, if they hold up. But, I'm with you. Huge concern for the second string offensive line, not because those guys aren't talented. This is, nothing but really 4 stars in that second string, to be honest with you. But, the most experienced guy, if you check the depth chart, is Blake Vinson, who literally just got cleared like the week before the Wake Forest game, and he's only got 120-something snaps under his belt. Okay, the other 4 guys on the depth chart are true freshmen. Or I guess Hunter Rayburn's a redshirt as well, but those guys are still freshmen that have never played at the college level. I think have a lot to be excited about with Walker Parks on the outside. I think he's one of those can't miss guys, and they just seem to really hit gold at left tackle once again, which is just a huge position. But injuries throws a freshman to the fire, and they go up to Notre Dame. Got to make a trip down to Florida State, who's got a defensive line that's pretty stout, even though the team isn't that good. I think there is reason to be concerned, but just know that that's a talented group, just not a lot of experience.
That's a great thing too. And my area of concern before the season was the wide receivers. Now, not that I was concerned about them, because I know the talent is there, especially watching from high school and their transition to college, Ngata and Ladston, and now we're going to watch EJ Williams. But as far as the big name guy, the Mike Williams that we've had in the past, we've had the T. Higgins and even the Justin Ross. We figured it was going to be T to Justin in progression here. We lose Justin Ross to a neck injury. We hope for Amari Rodgers, but stature-wise, he's just not that go up and get it kind of guy. Which wide receiver do you believe will be our next guy, the guy out of who we have here on the roster right now?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that's something else you're seeing a lot of is like, hey, is this, is Clemson still wide receiver U this year? Do they still have, the guy that can separate and make the play that we've become so accustomed to, whether it's Mike Williams, T. Higgins, Justin Ross to an extent, Nuke, Sammy, all those guys, just absolute difference makers. And to be honest, there may not be a guy on this team this year, but I really think the jury's still out on Ngata and Frank Ladson. If you're looking for that kind of mold, these guys just make their first start this weekend. Ladson had him and Trevor miscommunicated on, and then a drop in the end zone on a sliding catch that had some zip on it. And you can say what you want, and some of those other guys probably do make that catch, but hey, it's a kid making his first start. Things are moving fast, and I think those guys are really, really talented, and Ladson's added some good weight. And so I don't think you really saw Clemson even take shots downfield to give a little opportunities for 50-50 balls. So we'll just kind of see how those guys do as the season progresses. But really, I think the alpha this year is Amari Rodgers. And it is a little bit different taste for Clemson fans in the fact that we've become so used to some of these big body guys making an impact. But you go look at a Purdue with, Rondale Moore. You go look at an Alabama, guys like, a Ruggs, a Jerry Jeudy. That's kind of where the game is. I don't want to say evolving, but you're seeing some of these slot, not these big, tall guys really make an impact. And they're going first round of the draft too. So I think you're going to see that offense, maybe not shift per se, but you're going to see a huge emphasis on guys like Amari. Cornell Powell's going to get some good run this year, and hopefully he's able to deliver in that 5th year as a senior. And then your tight ends hopefully are going to open stuff up as well. And so, I think what we may see as the season progresses, if we dial in on some of the slot guys, maybe the middle of the field with the tight ends, which was awesome to see. Maybe later in the season, you see that open it up on the outside for guys like Ngata and Ladson, who can certainly blow the top off of defense. And I have no doubt those guys are physical enough with how their bodies look to go up and make some of those plays that we become accustomed to.
We're talking to Chris Cox. He goes by @TigerCommenter on Twitter, a great Twitter follow, as you can tell by the information he's sharing with us tonight. @TigerCommenter. Chris is a great follow, as I said. Now, Chris, one of the things that the Tigers do have that they didn't have last year is number 88, who's a terror in the middle of the field, whether he's playing LSU or last week against Wake Forest. Talk to us a little bit about what Braden Galloway brings to this offense that was missing the last couple of years since Jordan Leggett took his talents to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he's an unbelievable athlete. I mean, I think you look at some of the tight ends that have come through here recently, and no one jumps off the page quite like this guy. And even, Jordan Leggett was a good athlete himself, but when the last tight end that comes close to Galloway, it's really, Dwayne Allen for me, just a physical specimen. And I don't see how really a linebacker, a corner, or even a safety can truly match up with him if he's able to get body position. And I think he just really does open up the offense. And, we talk about Galloway a ton, and he's going to have a huge year for Clemson, probably the best year that tight ends had in a while. But I really like the Davis Allen kid that backs him up. And I think he's a similar body style. He's added some good weight, and the coaching staff was crazy about him last year, and he played a lot. Obviously, Galloway's suspension helped some with that, but he's the more physical of the two. I think, Galloway opens up the passing game. Davis Allen had a 40-yard catch this weekend, and he's a little more physical, but they're built very similar. So I think Clemson's got two young tight ends that are really going to warrant them maybe running some two tight end sets, which could really open up things for Travis and the play action, which is just something we hadn't seen a ton of. So, very excited to see if Tony Elliott can continue using these guys like he did this past weekend. And then, obviously JC Chalk getting a touchdown catch, awesome for him. Seeing the veteran of the group who maybe pushed down that depth chart just a little bit, being able to pull in a touchdown pass there. So very excited about those tight ends, and hopefully we'll continue to use them in that way.
We're talking to Chris Cox at Tiger Commenter on Twitter. Casey, I don't know if you have any other questions, but I was going to open it up for Chris for anything that we didn't touch on that you may feel of interest to the fans listening to the show about the Clemson Tigers. Did you have anything additional, Chris, that we didn't touch on that you'd like to bring up or talk about?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were reaching out to Casey there.
No, I'm sorry too. Why don't you answer this question? But I do have another question for you. So after you respond to Marty's question.
Yeah. Well, Casey, you go ahead and ask, and then if you don't hit on, I do have one to bring up.
Mine was going to be off topic. Mine was going to be completely off topic to throw you off your game a little bit if I can. But I am a loyal follower of Tiger Commenter, and your profile says Twitter's not that serious, but Clemson football and Pabst Blue Ribbon are a different story. So I just wanted to get your take on PBR.
Man, that's game day beer. So right now I'm drinking a Yingling. If we're going light beers, though, my PBR and that red, white, and blue can, that is my Saturday game day beer. And so it's worked pretty well over the last couple of years. Sometimes I catch a little flack for it, but I just say I'm a true American through the core of drinking the PBR. So
I just thought it was funny, Chris, to be honest with you. I laughed when I looked it up earlier today, and I said I got to make sure I ask him that. If you follow me on Twitter, it's a lot different tone than the podcast. I do nothing but cut up on there for the most part. Sometimes I provide good commentary, but most of it is all fun and games on there because I really don't take Twitter that seriously. I think a lot of folks on there too do take it way too seriously, and so I just try to be pretty lighthearted, and it's kind of my avenue just to kind of let through. And I started that account forever ago, and it kind of took off with a nice little following, and so I enjoy doing it. It's a nice little medium just to kind of throw some thoughts out there and just have a little fun with the football season. It's quite unfortunate we're not playing the Gamecocks this year because they are a favorite target of mine, but hopefully they have a good season and we can still jab back and forth a little bit with them.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to say that's what you're really good at is poking at the Gamecocks. So if for no other reason, you should follow Chris at Tiger Commenter for that. Now, Chris, you said you had some final thoughts you wanted to share?
Yeah, Marty, I feel like you'd like this one. How about our guy, BT Potter?
So, yeah.
Gosh, I mean, the kid for Wake Forest, Skiba, awesome kicker. I think he set a couple NCAA records, and BT kind of steals the show. But those guys are they're from up here where I live. So Skiba went to Clover High School, which is the town to live in, and BT went to South Point over in Rock Hill. So I'm pretty sure those guys know each other pretty well, and pretty cool to BT have a great night. Shot in the arm if Clemson can trust their kicker. So I feel like it's been a couple years, and you hold your breath a little bit, but man, he was locked in, no doubt, on any of those three the other night.
Well, the way I explained BT is, or kickers in general, I guess I should say, is the kickers lose your trust real quickly, and it takes a long time to win it back. Because I can remember it took Capman from that miss at Auburn in when Auburn won the national championship that year, when he missed that kick, to his late in his senior year before I trusted him again. But once I did, it's all on. And BT looks solid. He's taken a lot of criticism, some from me, but he really, really looked good on Saturday night. And the kickoffs, I mean, what a joke. They need a longer field for that dude kicking off. So
I will take a little bit of credit for BT Potter for even being at Clemson, because one of my college roommates at Clemson was the defensive coordinator for those South Point teams. And when I lived in Greenville, I would go up for most of those games, and I was afforded the capability of being on the sideline for those South Point games. Now, I know most of the coaches that were there were for Kendrick and others, but I kept pushing the DC, who was also he was the special teams coordinator. He told me when Potter kicked a long field goal, but otherwise he wasn't. But I kept telling him, you got to push this kid. This kid is kicking the ball out of the end zone every time. If for nothing else, he can do that. So I'm taking full responsibility now that he's really solid and showed his leg off last week for him being at Clemson.
Well, you take responsibility when he misses a field goal too, all right, Casey?
No.
Hey, Chris, I want to thank you for your time. I know you got a busy schedule. We appreciate you stopping by, and we got to get you back on when the video is working, so America can see somebody that doesn't have a head as big as me and Casey. So,
thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, thanks for the kind words, and maybe later in the season, hop back in and we can talk a little bit more. So appreciate you guys.
We sure will. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Hey, Casey, I saw on Facebook the other day, or I think it was Facebook, social media somewhere, where you had ordered some Pit Boss sauce.
I did. I was getting, a little testy here, and I wanted to put my money where my mouth is. And I've been talking about Pit Boss sauce for I don't know how long. So I decided to go on there and search through the menu of many sauces, and I picked 3 out myself, hit the buttons, and Terje immediately emailed me and with a confirmation, and hopefully at some point very soon they're on their way. So I'm excited for them.
Nice. Well, I haven't had a chance to get out and have any sauce, but I think I need to click some buttons for Terje too, because he's been really, really good to us. And so I need to do a little better about clicking some buttons on that sauce. Hey, Casey, guess what time it is?
Oh, no. The time everyone was waiting for.
Yeah, it's time for this.
Oh, my God. The universe is collapsing.
Zach Locks Parker joins us from Pooler, Georgia, to make our picks this week. Zach, how's it going?
I'm back. Can you believe it?
Now, we don't have the video up today. We're having some problems, and it's probably me, actually. But I'm not sure what's going on. Usually it just flips over to the screen, but didn't do so today. But anyway, I was thinking, Chris, 29 years old, a strapping young man, clean-cut, good-looking dude, and the 3 of us are sitting here. We should have the video for Chris, and this is how it should be really for us right here, right?
Absolutely. You can keep me hidden all day long. It's no big deal.
You probably actually appreciate this more. And but if you look at your screen, you're not going to appreciate this.
Oh,
yeah.
Dagger.
It's saying something when we're at week 2, and I had my best week last week with 2 wins. So yeah.
Well, things were looking good for you, Zach. If you remember, I texted you were 2-1, and it was looking like Clemson was going to cover. And I said, you could go 4-1. How about that, Jinx?
Thanks, Marty. Way to go. Appreciate it.
Dabo decided to put everybody in the game, and then Kansas decided to play touch football instead of tackle. And Coastal Carolina pulled out the win, which really makes Nelson Wilhite happy, because he's all over Coastal, being from Myrtle Beach. All right, guys, we have 5 games to pick this week and a chance for you guys to get back in it because I'm not feeling comfortable or confident at all in these picks. So with that said, we start out up in Oklahoma. Tulsa is visiting Stillwater, 23-point favorite, or excuse me, wouldn't that be news? 23-point underdog. Casey, you are up first. Tulsa plus 23 versus Oklahoma State.
So back-to-back 2 and 3 weeks for yours truly. I decided after doing pages upon pages upon pages of notes for these things, I'm going to stop doing that this week and kind of do it a little bit more simply, and basically meaning I'm going to close my eyes and throw a dart. Tulsa, I thought they were decent last year. A little bit of a look. They were 4-8, 2-6 in the American Conference. They do have Zach Smith, who's a decent quarterback. He transferred from Baylor a couple of years ago. Then you go to Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy's in his 16th year at there. They were 8-5 last year. My pick to win the Big 12, which was, I don't know what I was doing that day, but Chuba Hubbard. Enough said. That's what they have. And their defense is non-existent because they're in the Big 12. So, with all that said, Oklahoma State covers minus 23.
Yeah, I am really scared to say this, but I'm thinking along the same lines. I just don't think Tulsa's going to be able to stop Chuba. I don't know. Oklahoma State, this is typically the type of game they run the score up in. You know, they win these games like 58-12, and everybody goes, "Oh, the greatest team ever." And then they play somebody like Oklahoma or Texas and lose. So I'm expecting a rout here. Having said that, if it was over 24, I probably would have gone the other side. But we're betting it at 23. I'm taking Oklahoma State. Mr. Parker, you're up.
I think there's something important that you two missed here with our favorite coach, everybody's favorite coach, Mike Gundy, and his big personality and his competitive personality. You got to remember, last week Oklahoma played, they scored 48 points. Texas played, they scored 59 points. I look for at least that out of Coach Gundy. They will run the score up on him. I think this is a big-time lock here at 23-point line. I got Oklahoma State, too.
So,
God.
First of all, somebody 3-7 shouldn't be talking about big-time locks.
You got to stick with it. Everybody loves an underdog, Marty. You know that. And that would be me.
I'm joking with you. I love your confidence, man, because I wouldn't have it. That's for sure. Next game up, Houston's getting 4.5. They're playing at Baylor. Zach, you're up first on this one.
Okay, we have another great coach, Dana Holgorsen, right? Well, he used to be a former great coach, West Virginia lore. Everybody's on this game is stemming from Mike Leach, his Texas Tech underlings here. You got Dave Aranda, also a former defensive coordinator for LSU. So these guys know each other. This game was scheduled with the COVID pandemic, and they brought this together. These teams played actually last time they played, it was in 1995. So they used to play a lot and used to be rivals. But Houston only had 4 wins last year, and they were supposed to be a whole lot better than that, I think. But once a lot of these guys went into the transfer portal after the 4th game, it kind of just sucked the wind out of them. Baylor looked great last year. We remember that. They only lost to Oklahoma twice, and Oklahoma made it to the playoff, as we all know. So Baylor returns some good players too. 4.5 points is kind of a weird line, but I think that they're still going to have enough to cover for Houston here. So I'll take Baylor with the 4.5 on this one.
Okay, Zach gives the 4.5 points, and Casey, the Beef Cregan. Who do you got in the Houston Baylor tilt?
Houston. We'll see how many people opt out after this week. No De'Ara King. Dana Holgorsen in his 2nd year there was 4-8 last season, 4-8 overall at Houston. Holgorsen at the helm. They're going to do some crazy end arounds. Don't we know that as Clemson people? I'm still seeing that game in my dreams or nightmares. The defense, they got problems all over the field there at Houston, according to the one article I read this week, because that's all I did, just one article. Charlie Brewer for Baylor is back, and he took a beating last year, but he was as solid as it comes. So he is back for them, four starters on the offensive line, and the defense is in the Big 12. So once again, we're not sure who or what they do there on that side of the ball. I will say Baylor covers -4 comfortably.
Oh, man, I love you guys so much because I'm going the other way.
Yes.
I'm going to take Houston.
God,
Now,
I agree with Locks, damn it.
Baylor lost a ton. They got a new coach. They had no spring practice. I don't even know if they've seen the field since they got blasted in the bowl game. I don't need to say much more. I'm going opposite of you two. That should be enough for everybody out there. I'm going to take Houston to Houston and the 4.5. Next game up is University of South Florida, 26-point underdog at Notre Dame. Now, what an interesting game this is, right? This is old Jeff Scott's second game after blasting the Citadel 20-6 last week. Really only scoring 13 points because the Citadel player dropped a punt in the end zone. So he scored 13 against the Citadel. But I think, you know that old coach is saying where the most improvement is between week 1 and week 2? I think that's going to happen for Jeff Scott's team. I'm not sure how or why. I also wasn't very impressed with Notre Dame and the greatest offensive line in the history of college football, as we've heard for the last 6 or 7 weeks, right? I mean, they didn't exactly pummel Duke. They got, they had an okay running game, but Ian Book is Ian Book. So 26 points is just too much to lay for me. I'm going to take the University of South Florida. And that would mean, Zach, you're up.
This was a tough one. The 26-point line is just a tough one to swallow, just being the makeup of it. I'm still kind of on the fence if you can't tell. But USF, I saw they ran for 302 yards was their offense last week. Notre Dame only gave up 73 yards of rushing to Duke. I'm sure practice this past week was a little rough in South Bend with all the expectations. And Coach Kelly, I'm sure his face stayed red all week yelling at his players. But I think it's a bounce back week for Ian Book. I'm not giving up on him, man. I'm going to take Notre Dame to cover the 26. Yeah.
Whew. Zach lays the 26. Casey, who are you on? You with Zach on this one too?
Well, I can't believe you guys both missed this, but the quarterback of USF is Jordan McLeod from Tampa. Does that last name ring a bell for any Clemson people? That's right. He is Ray McLeod's younger brother. So there's a little Clemson connection there, and with Jeff Scott with the Clemson connection. Yeah, I watched a little bit of their highlights, the USF game. I believe it was 27-6, but either way, they still didn't do it great on the offensive side of the ball, but their defense was stopped that triple option attack of the Citadel that Clemson gets this week. Notre Dame, they didn't impress me either, and that I don't know. Ian Book is Ian Book. He is what he is, and that's as cliche as that sounds. He is what he is. He's not going to wow you with his arm, and he's going to run the ball occasionally. He's hard nosed, no question about it. But I think the defense really stuck out to me for Notre Dame as being pretty good. But with all that said, I still think USF covers that 26 points. I think that's too big, and I don't know how or why, but it may be. I'm seeing very low scoring game.
Well, Casey, you know how you felt when you realized you were on Zach's side?
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I feel right now. I know I'm on your side. Payback is heck.
Okay.
All right, Casey, you're up first here. This is a really intriguing game here. Central Florida is giving Georgia Tech 7.5 points in Atlanta if they're not rained out. And Casey, you're up first. Who you got in this one?
Intriguing is the right word for this game because we saw Georgia Tech win a game they shouldn't have, right? I mean, let's be honest. They were completely outplayed for the first, I don't know, probably I'd say half of that game. But somehow they were in it because of the ineptitude of Florida State. Then all of a sudden, somehow I get a text from Zach saying that Georgia Tech just took the lead. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I had to flip it back. But anyway, what I'm saying is we've seen them. We know that Jeff Sims, the freshman quarterback, was fine. I thought he was okay. Ends up throwing for 277 and a touchdown. The running back ran really pretty hard. His stat line was 55 yards, I believe, but he had that big 19-yard run at the end. The interesting stat for Georgia Tech was Sims's 24 completions are the most by a Georgia Tech quarterback since Reggie Ball had 27, November 8th, 2003.
What? Wait a second. What kind of stat was that?
Interesting.
Just checking.
UCF, we're not sure yet. You know, their quarterbacks are pretty much not there. They had Brandon Wimbush. They had Daryl Mack. Now they have Dylan Gabriel. You know, they're just going to sling it around the field like they do. I don't know much about their defense. We haven't really talked about UCF's solid defense since the Griffins were there, who were both in Seattle at last check. I think one got cut recently. I just think that UCF will win, but for some reason I have them not covering the 7.5 points. So I think it's going to be closer than 7.5, and I don't know what that means, but I'm going to stick with it.
So you're taking Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech.
And the 7.5. Mr. Parker.
I kind of tossed this one around a little bit too. The 7.5 really stinks. That half a point kind of hurts my cause here. You know, we got to remember though, we're talking about the former national champs from a couple of years ago, UCF. You know, the one thing that kind of made me lean to where I'm at here is I did look at the over-under for this game. It said 61.5. You spoke about it a little bit, Case. I don't think Georgia Tech necessarily won that game. They just kind of survived that marathon with the lightning delay and just Florida State just lost it. I mean, Georgia Tech was just okay and survived the game. Didn't score a ton of points. I don't see them scoring 30 points in this game or more, you know, to make that over-under. That's why I'm going to take UCF to cover the 7.5 here.
All right. Well, again, I find myself on Casey's side, but kind of with Zach's reasoning, the 7.5. If it was 7 or below, I would take UCF. But with that half a point there, and it's nothing but a numbers play. I don't have any stats or 7 pages of research like Casey or today. I think you got like 3 lines of research. I don't even have that. I'm just basing it on the numbers. I think Georgia Tech's offenses will give UCF's defense just enough to hang in there. I don't know if Georgia Tech will win. They probably won't. But I'm picturing something like 21-17, 24-21, 27-21, something along those lines. So I'm going with the underdog there in Georgia Tech. Final game of the day, our final game of this week. Miami is getting 2.5 at Louisville. Zach Locks Parker, you're up first.
Hey, now this is the big spotlight game of the week, isn't it? I think 7:30 game. Yeah,
it is. It is.
Goodness, it must be early in the year, and the SEC must not be playing yet. Let's see here. Miami last week beat UAB 31-14 with 495 yards of offense. Louisville beat Western Kentucky 35-21 with 487 yards of offense. So we know we got some offense on the field here versus some, you know, lower tier teams they played. One thing to bring up though, Louisville gave up 21 points to Western Kentucky. One was a touchdown that was late with the backups in and later in the game. One was a 1-yard quote unquote drive and then off of a fumble, and one was a 4-yard drive off of a blocked punt. So other than that, Louisville's defense played pretty solid. You know, Miami actually allowed 205 yards passing, and Louisville passed for 343 yards last week. So by that reasoning, and since I'm a real big math guy, I'm going to take Louisville. Louisville will cover the 2.5. 2.5 I like, though, here, definitely.
That's just what we need on this show, math. That will get the fans riveted to the show. I mean, besides the beautiful video we have. And Casey, you were going to mention something about a comment we got on Facebook.
Yeah, well, Chris Cox, who was just a guest on our show, just said that if freshman running back Jahmyr Gibbs is a go for Georgia Tech, they won't just cover. They will win it outright. So that looks like a good pick. Someone that knows the game, knows college football, is telling us that whoever picked Georgia Tech is probably going to win that 7.5. So I hope you're right, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, we both hope you're right, Chris. Casey, you're up next with the pick on Miami and Louisville.
The U is back, and if we had video, I would show you my face is painted orange and green. The U sign is up right now on my hands. Marty's favorite coach, Manny Diaz, might not
handsome Manny.
Yep, he might not just be the best handsome, but he might be the best coach in college football. He was definitely the best defensive coordinator in college. All right, I'm being facetious at this point. De'Aaron King, I thought he was going to be the next Lamar Jackson. That's what all the pundits told me, especially the Twitter pundits. And he was 15 to 23, not bad completion percentage, 141 yards and a touchdown, 12 carries, 83 yards. So he is passing and running the ball. The running back, though, Cameron Harris, 17 carries, 134 yards and 2 touchdowns, seemed to be the workhorse there. Still don't believe in the U, in all honesty. I grew up a Miami fan for most of my childhood. But I just think Scott Satterfield in Louisville and Malik Cunningham, who threw for 343 and 3 touchdowns, are just going to be too much for Miami this week. I have a sneaking suspicion that Louisville is going to be there at the end, kind of one of those top 2-3 teams in the conference. I'm going Louisville big here against Miami.
Ooh, Louisville big. Hey, look. Here we are.
You're a liar. You said your face is painted.
Oh, I just took it off once I knew it was coming back. I didn't put my makeup on.
Poor Chris Cox, the best looking one out of us all, and he's not around to be on the field. We'll get you next time, Chris. Okay, Louisville and Miami. Now, you guys really gonna make me choose between these two coaches? I mean, we got one's a genius and one's not. And guess which one's what? Yeah. Hey, Scott Satterfield over Manny Diaz, 12 days a week, only 2.5 points, playing at home. A little scared about the Louisville defense, to be honest with you. But I'm going to also take Louisville, so we have a clean sweep. And let me go over these picks real quick. And I'm showing – we'll go from the bottom up. Zach, so you're first. Zach took Oklahoma State, Baylor, Notre Dame, UCF, and Louisville. Casey, the Beef Cregan, took Oklahoma State, Baylor, USF, Georgia Tech, and Louisville. The guy in first place took Oklahoma State. Humble. Oklahoma, but his smile gives it away, doesn't it? Oklahoma State, Houston, USF, Georgia Tech, and Louisville. Now, I don't feel comfortable with these picks this week. I'm a little nervous. And that makes Zach happy because those animals in Georgia need help. But here's what I do feel comfortable about. Zach Locks Parker took 5 favorites.
Mm-hmm.
5 favorites aren't going to win, Zach.
Never know.
You can't beat that logic. Never know. Hey,
that's right.
No doubt. That was a lot of fun, guys. And I'm giving you a hard time, but like the little GIF I sent you guys of a guy going off the cliff, that's me this week or next week. Some week it's going to happen, believe me, because I'm using the KC, the Beef Cregan method of throwing the darts. So,
are we picking Clemson or no?
Yeah, we are going to pick Clemson. We just for fun, does not count in the standings.
And I'll get right.
Zach will be saying, I'm 1-5. I'm not 0-5. I'm 1-5. Casey, what's the spread? I think you had it at like
44.5.
44.5. So, Casey, you go first since you did all the research to get the spread.
I didn't watch a single second of the Citadel. I think Clemson does not cover 44.5.
Zach Locks Parker.
No cover. I figured 42, but 44, that's what it is. Yeah, no cover. In-state game, too. He doesn't want to rub it in. I don't think Citadel has a whole lot to offer. We know that, but he's not going to rub it in on him.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm picturing maybe like a 52-12, or Citadel's got a heck of a kicker, so it'll probably end up with 12. They'll end up with 4 field goals or something. Picture around 40%.
The one thing to feel really good about is that defensive front last week for Clemson was absolutely dominant. At least those first 6-8 guys that they ran out there at the defensive line. When Skalski came back in the second half, he was an animal, man. He was in on every play. So I thoroughly believe that this Venables loves this triple option. He licks his chops when he sees this now that he's got it covered. I don't see the Citadel scoring on the first team. So maybe they get that late touchdown, as we always seem to give up at Clemson and as Clemson fans. But I don't know if we're going to score 56 points or – maybe it's a 45-10 kind of game. I know that means they cover, that means they cover. Math, sorry.
Not 45-10.
All right, well then That's all right. That's 35 points. Right. Like I told you, no math here. But yeah, so, I mean that's how it feels, and that's okay. That can be fine. Let the guys rest after the first half, get healthy. Let Travis break a big one because he was like inches away from breaking a big one last week, and all will be right with the world.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. It's going to be maybe 52-10 or 52-12, something like that. So 2-0. And here's the weird thing: come October, we'll still be 2-0 because they don't play next week. We have and next week we have SEC games to pick, guys. So that'll be a lot of fun. SEC mixed in with no Clemson game, so we'll have an extra game to pick.
Nice.
Hey guys, as always, thank you very much, Casey, the Beef Cregan from West Orange, New Jersey, and Zach Locks Parker from Pooler, Georgia. You guys have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good one.
Producer Amy, how'd we do tonight?
I think that sounds pretty good.